Good morning. I'm Councilmember Vincent C. Gray. All right, we'll start on my left and your right. You're next.
Chairman Gray and members of the committee, my name is Stephanie Ross, and I am a 7-year resident of Grand Oaks Assisted Living at Sibley Hospital. I am here for the 3rd year in a row to say that residents of assisted living facilities in the district desperately need more rights and protections. Too often, the profit motive takes precedence over quality care, even in nonprofit facilities like mine. Thankfully, this year, I am also here to hail the remarkable progress you have made and express my appreciation to you, the other 12 council members, and staff who have helped and joined together to co-introduce Bill 220689 last week. You are on a path to equalizing treatment for all district residents across assisted living and other facilities, regardless of type or payer, and improving protections and rights for the residents of these facilities. I and many other residents are tired of being told by DOH and the Ombudsman that they cannot help us because current law is too weak or unclear, and that the problems they substantiate are not deficiencies or regulatory violations. This bill will fix that and help provide the clarity we need. Regarding DOH, there is good and bad news. First, I commend the skills of the HRLA licensure survey team under the direction of Sharon Mebane. The nurses teamed with the sanitarian and inspectors do outstanding inspections. However, DOH is badly lacking in its treatment of retaliation complaints, and fixing this must become a high priority. Without retaliation protection in place, you will never know the full breadth and depth of problems because residents are too fearful to file complaints. As an illustration of DOH's attitude toward retaliation, they actually allow facility managers to accompany the DOH surveyors to the doors of vulnerable residents who have put themselves on the line to speak to DOH and provide valuable information. I have personally experienced this. And when I complained in writing last year to DOH about this practice, I was told that the surveyors had no choice because the decision had been made above their heads. DOH is essentially protecting management of facilities and enabling the fear of retaliation rather than protecting residents as is their mandate. DOH and the Office of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman must work together and coordinate their efforts in order to best use scarce resources. Although they play different roles, together they provide the safety net for residents in trouble. I believe that the committee should recommend additional resources for both DOH and the Ombudsman so that they can adequately perform their current duties. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to appear before you today. I request that my full submission be included in the hearing record.
Indeed it will. Thank you very much, Ms. Ross, for your testimony. Thank all of you for your testimony and your work. We've enjoyed working with you on this bill, and it was absolutely delightful when, at its introduction last week, we had 13 of us who were co-introducing the bill, and you'll have other opportunities as well to be able to speak to that when we have the hearing on it. And if you permit me to single out Alma Gates, who really has done an extraordinary job on this issue. She's a frequent testifier. She's a great advocate. Let me just put it that way. And you all ought to be very thankful for having someone like her who's got the level of respect that she has down here. And again, we had promised her on your behalf that we would move forward with getting this bill done, and we were happy to be able to get it to the point of being able to be introduced. Now, of course, that's the beginning of the legislative process, so I'm going to ask you all to continue to do what you've done up to now, and that is make sure that my colleagues on the Health Committee are cognizant of that, since the bill is in our committee now, and then, of course, along the way, the other members of the council. I'm sure that Councilmember Nadeau, who I'm going to turn to shortly, has heard you loudly and clearly today, and she is one of the co-introducers also, and I want to thank her for having joined with us to be able to move the bill forward. Ms. Ross, you talked about being able to generate additional resources. You also made the statement, I think, that a decision as to how some of these incidents are being handled was made at above someone's head, I think it was. When you talk about additional resources, what is it that you're referring to?
Based on my personal interactions with the Office of the Ombudsman and DOH, there clearly is a need for more personnel to do the work. That the workload is too great for the staff that is currently in place. So DOH is only able to do one inspection per year, for example, at assisted living facilities, and to respond to specific complaints. Likewise, I think you heard Mark Miller, the Ombudsman, speak about the workload he has in terms of the inspections he needs to make, not only on assisted living facilities, but things like community residence facilities that are numerous and more difficult to regulate. So my recommendation to the committee would be to look for some additional funding for both DOH and the Ombudsman.
We have, I've talked directly to the Ombudsman about, his need for additional resources, and last time he and I, spoke about this, he was not able to articulate then what additional resources, would be necessary. If you all have some thoughts with specificity on what that would look like, I would appreciate receiving that as well, and we hope that you're speaking to him as well about the additional resources that you believe would be necessary to make this a more effective endeavor. Can you articulate again, you said a decision. What was that decision that was being made above the head of, of the person that you were talking to?
Someone in the Department of Health authorized Grand Oaks managers to accompany the DOH surveyors to the doors of residents who had offered to speak to DOH surveyors about problems and had information they wanted to offer DOH. That is typically the sort of thing that residents are not willing to have management know they are doing. And when they ask to speak to a DOH inspector or surveyor, they typically would like privacy, and they prefer that management not know they're talking to them because there is fear of retaliation. And
actually perfectly understandable that folks would feel that way.
Yeah, yes, and I've been retaliated against, and am being retaliated against on an ongoing basis. So residents' fears are not unfounded, and residents should feel free to speak to a DOH surveyor without management being aware of it. And somebody at DOH made the decision that the surveyors would have to allow Grand Oaks managers to accompany them. And this has happened, has been the case for at least the last 2 years.
Do you know who made that decision?
No, but I'd be interested in knowing.
So would we. But you obviously know who was that imparted that information to you, is that correct?
It was the surveyors themselves. So the HRLA surveyor team that came to do the annual licensure survey told me that they had been instructed that Grand Oaks managers were were to be allowed to accompany them to the doors of residents who had asked to speak.
They were instructed to do that by someone within DOH?
By somebody above them, above their level, but they didn't say who.
Do you have the names of those surveyors so we can follow up with
Yes, I
Director
do.
Nesbitt?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'd like to have those
okay.
things. Okay, I'd appreciate that.